We watch. And the Knicks lead this series 1-0. Steve Novak, a good luck charm. Great to have you with us here in our studio, our Delta MSG studios. Bill Pito, Steve, and Wally Zerbiak. That's the biggest comeback the Knicks have ever had in their playoff history. It was 93-71, as I mentioned. And the Knicks, from that point on, about 7.5 minutes until the end of overtime, outscored the Cavs 44-11. I repeat, 44-11. The Knicks sluggish, Wally, picked it up. Brunson scored 11 straight in the fourth quarter. You see the biggest comeback wins in history. Brunson got them going, and then they just couldn't be stopped. It was what a remarkable game, Wally.
And look at game 1 and 2 of the last year's series against Boston. So the Knicks knew they could do this. In the back of their head, they're kind of drawing on that when they stole the first 2 games up there in Boston in that series. Listen, this is a game of momentum. Basketball is all about, like, you got to get stops first and foremost. And as a result, Cleveland started looking at the scoreboard, they started looking at the clock and saying, we just want to hold on. And when another team senses that, and the Knicks sensed it, Jalen sensed it, they just went for the Cavs. They continued to just throttle them, and what a performance in that fourth quarter. And this is a back-breaking loss for Cleveland. We saw how it ended up with the Knicks last year when they did the same thing in the first game against the Pacers. We'll see how the Cavs react out of this one.
It really does feel like a back-breaking loss for the Cavs. You just think when you're playing that well and you're leading the game and you're feeling like you're about to get the victory in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, steal home court advantage from this team. And like you said, it's a game of momentum, and we've watched the Knicks be so good offensively against Atlanta, have a 51-point closeout game victory in that win, and then score 144 points in the fourth game against Philly. That offense, the three-point shooting was clicking. It was at the highest level that we saw it all season long. And then there was a 9-day gap that I think we talked to death so far. Was it good? Was it bad? What is it going to mean for this team? Yeah. I think we saw already in one game what it meant. It took quite a while to get a little bit of that rust, it seemed like, off. The 9 days wasn't great until it came off.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, that Knicks team that's won by 51 points against Atlanta and scored 144 against Philly in that closeout game, they were back. And they found a way to have a 44-11 run to close out Game 1. And I think it feels very much like break the back of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah. Although we're only a game in, there's plenty more to be played. This was unexpected watching most of the game.
We talked about the Cavs maybe running out of gas because of all the games that they've had to play in only 48 hours since beating the Pistons in Game 7. They ran out of gas. Across the street we go. Here's Alan Hahn with Mikal Bridges.
All right, thank you, Bill. Mikal, what we just witnessed, what does this say about this team?
We don't stop fighting. That's it. We don't stop till the clock is 0. And just shout out to our captain for holding it down for us offensively.
It was hard not to think of last season, same exact situation. Game 1 in this building, but the reverse. You were the team now, this year, that made the run to come back and win the game in overtime. Was that game in the back of your minds at all, knowing that you have to run through the tape 48 minutes to win a game in the playoffs?
Yeah, you learn from our mistakes, and we just came out here and want the same thing to happen, and we just kept fighting.
Tell me about Jalen Brunson and what he can do sometimes to electrify a team and help you guys make a run like that.
Yeah, he carried us offensively when we needed him, and then he was getting big-time stops on the other end as well. So we wouldn't be here without Cap.
All right, thanks very much, Mikal. Congratulations on the win. Back to you, Bill.
All right, Alan, big plays presented by Four Leaf Credit Union. Steve, how about Mikal Bridges and his contribution, 18 points and a couple of massive threes down the stretch.
Massive threes down the stretch, because that was the area this team was struggling so mightily with. Just 2 threes at half, 4 threes when this team finally got going, and Mikal Bridges started making some threes along with some other guys. But just look at the impact he's having. Making great passes, letting the game come to him, and really a lot of these shots were so timely. Look at the tough shot making when it seemed like for such a long stretch in this game, nobody could get loose. No one could get a rhythm. All of a sudden, he's looking over at his guys. He's saying, hey, I'm loose. I think we're rolling. We're making a comeback. And it was contagious. And obviously, one guy starts making shots, another guy starts feeling good, and it happened just in the nick of time, no pun intended.
Yeah, it was crazy. And Mikal came out at the beginning of the game, and he looked ready.
Yeah.
He made some really nice plays offensively, made some obviously great plays defensively. He's going to be a key piece defensively always for this Knicks. But these Villanova, like DNA, they don't lose. They just know how to find ways to pull off incredible things. And it's the leadership that Jalen Brunson brings to the table. It's having Josh Hart, his running mate, in that locker room, and also Mikal Bridges. And Mikal Bridges, this guy, like, it doesn't matter the situation. It doesn't matter how he's playing in a game. He turns it on when he needs it. He is a winning basketball player that makes winning plays on both ends of the floor, and he was clutch down the stretch, helping pull off this big comeback.
You know, we talked a lot about what would be the impact of the layoff, 9 days without a game for the Knicks. They were up 7 points after the first quarter. In fact, Cleveland had its lowest scoring first quarter of the year. They scored only 16 points. But the Cavs dominated the third quarter. And then it's like the switch flipped. It's bizarre to watch the NBA in this era because just like that, things change. Jalen Brunson catches fire, Steve. Why was James Harden on Brunson when throughout the night they had basically contained Brunson? When it mattered, Brunson caught fire on Harden, and that changed the whole game.
Well, that obviously was not the matchup that they wanted because that's not what they started out with. They had guys like Dean Wade all over Jalen Brunson trying to make it tough on him, switching the matchups up. But Harden was getting switched onto very strategically onto Brunson. And that is a big part, I think, what got him going. They were able to expose that is a matchup that I think we knew coming into this series. Cleveland could struggle finding a guy to stop Jalen Brunson. Offense is what this Knicks team does. Defense is not what Cleveland does. And so you just look at the playmaking, and obviously you got Donovan Mitchell making some big-time plays as well to keep it a close game. But it was Jalen Brunson late that was the difference. 38 points, and it wasn't until late that he really got hot.
He just made all the right decisions. And I think Coach Mike Brown and company, they did a good job of using him as a screener sometimes, knowing they were going to switch. They got the matchups they wanted. Another key move was bringing Landry Shamet out into that closing lineup and not playing Josh Hart. Because Josh Hart, if you're not going to keep the defense honest from the three-point line, there's not going to be as much room for Jalen to operate like this offensively. As a result of having shooters all around on the court, the Knicks were able to space the floor for Jalen. He was able to go to work. Big miss right there. That was the chance to win the game in regulation for the Cleveland Cavaliers. In and out. Now when it goes to overtime, Steve, home team advantage. Higher seed advantage. The fresher team advantage. And the Knicks just took over in overtime. Jalen Brunson continued to dominate. Their defense was stifling. In the overtime, they only gave up 3 points. OG Anunoby all of a sudden turned into Superman. He went from Clark Kent in the whole first part of the game to Superman in overtime in the end of the game. Shamet with a big shot. What a performance by this team. And now you can see that the Knicks have their mojo back.
The Knicks guys through 3 quarters were 4 of 23 for downtown. That was the biggest stat, whether it's lack of rhythm from not having played, whatever the case, they couldn't hit anything, and they finished 10 for 32. That shows you how maybe it took a while for them to get their legs, whatever it was a three-point shooting that they could not execute, and then they were able to execute it. And again, to your point, you got Shamet in there, hitting 2 threes, and Bridges late with the shot clock almost at 0 with 2 threes.
OG missed some open ones, which he's going to start making once he gets his legs.
Yes. Even longer off for him, right? Because you think about the 9 days rest. It was OG didn't play those last 2 games of the Philly series, so that's an even longer stretch, and you're not full go, so he's not totally conditioning. So that is a real part of it. But, you know, you said it. Shamet came in, and he gave a boost. And sometimes, and he wasn't the only one, but you never know which guy is going to really come in and have an impact because Hart went out, Shamet came in, he played some really good defense at some critical times, made some big shots. And you also said it's a game of momentum, and you never know how much time you need to really make that full big swing like this Knicks team did. It seemed to me, as we were watching the game, the Knicks were out of time. The way that they had played that whole game. But this is an era of basketball where if you can get going, if you can get the rust off, and if you are a team that had just made last game, although it was a long time ago, 18 threes in the first half against Philly and 25 in that game, that is the team that we saw late. I thought there wasn't going to be enough time, but this was a remarkable, remarkable finish, and it did have a lot to do with momentum, the guys stepping up, and obviously some big shot making.
Huge.
You get that momentum going, guys, with the home crowd, man.
Brunson across the foul timeline. Screen from Bridges, sets him up against Harden. Behind the back, right wing, off the dribble 3. He got it! Jalen Brunson is not human right now.
Tyler Murray and The fans, Tyler Murray with a great call on the radio on ESPN New York. Jalen Brunson, Alan Hahn back from across the street, goes for 11 straight, 38 points for the game. He had 15 in the fourth quarter, 2 in overtime. What was that building like when all this was going on?
Man, there was blood in the water. Like, that's what it was. It was that sense of a couple, like, and that's Jalen Brunson. That's, again, what's great about Jalen Brunson is that, you know, the offense is nice. They figured something out. They ran this stuff. It was really great. And then Jalen's like, all right, this isn't working tonight. Get out of the way. I got this. And he just went straight ISO, and he just started picking on James Harden. Yeah. And it was like just a couple of buckets, and it was like the murmur in the crowd. Then it started to build a crescendo, and it really was less about, it was the defensive stops, getting the stops, and then Brunson just couldn't miss. And the combination of that was, that's exactly what it was. The crowd started sensing it, that something can happen. All I kept thinking of, guys, and I asked Mikhail this, last year, game 1. The Knicks had a double-digit lead and couldn't close the door. They didn't get to the end of the game, and some threes knocked down. Momentum went the other way. And I'm thinking, so this is now history repeating, but in the reverse.
Remember they did it to Boston, though, the first 2 games in Boston.
That's right. That's right.
They stole those games exactly like this, on the road, down 17, down 15 those first 2 games. Mikal Bridges making huge shots. This team, when they get stops, they are very tough.
And knock down
threes. They feed off their defense.
Absolutely
Remember,
true.
Christmas Day, the Knicks came back from 17 down against the Cavs. That was a Tyler Kolek game,
That's
right?
in the back of the Cavs' mind. Believe me, that's in the back of their mind.
Guys,
you remember everything as a player.
Let's look at tonight's New York State Lottery power player and Jalen Brunson.
Who is it, do you think?
You know, 21 points through 3 quarters, and then 15 in the fourth quarter, and I mentioned 2 more in overtime. Plus the 11 in a row, bringing the Knicks back from 22 down.
I mean, this is what a leader does, right, guys? Like, this is when you need something, you need energy, you need someone to just get hot, take over, whatever it is. This is what this guy does, and it's what he's been doing for 4 years here with this team. Him understanding how critical getting the win tonight was, getting that game 1 win in their pocket was.
Yeah, not all leaders do that, but great leaders do that. Great players do what he did. And he just led the way for his team in the fourth quarter. What a performance. I'm with you. We got to dissect why James Harden just swiping at the ball like that is on an island, Harden Island, trying to guard Jalen Brunson, clutch player of the year. Impossible for him. And, you know, I understand Atkinson did not want to throw 2 at Brunson. Allow those shooters, because there were all shooters out there at that point. It was Towns, it was Anunoby, it was Bridges, no Hart. Hart was not in the game, and Shamet. You can't just throw 2 guys at Brunson, because all of a sudden that's going to lead to open threes, and they're going to make them. So he dared Jalen Brunson to beat him, and Jalen Brunson said, I got you, and he took care of business.
He did, and I just think as much as you want to give the Cleveland Cavaliers credit for the defense that they played, and not make an excuse for, oh, it was rest or oh, it was rust. They deserve a lot of credit. Those guys were flying around. Dean Wade and Mobley and Allen, they had a lot to do with why the Knicks struggled for such a long time. But then I think on the other side of the coin is definitely the fact that this Knicks team got going because that is who they are. They are one of the best offensive teams in the league, and Jalen Brunson is one of the best late clutch scorers this game has, and I think he showed that as well. And so this is a Knicks team that now finding a way to get a win in this game in the style that they did. I think they are a totally different team after the Atlanta series, after the Philly series, and this game now in the Eastern Conference Finals at home, up 1-0 in this fashion, I think changes this entire series as it goes on.
It really is amazing, and it does also show you this group as they've gone through the years and experience and understanding, learning from that experience. Again, Bridges talked about that, learning from experience, and how you get to a point as a core where you've been through so much that down 22 at home in the fourth quarter, you just keep going. And all you're looking for is that one thing to just believe in, one thing to kind of just feel a little bit of hope. And everyone just believes. Like all of a sudden, it permeates the team to where Mike Brown had to find a combination at work. Landry Shamet's minutes were big-time minutes. Him coming in there, that's a great adjustment that now we'll watch in this series. But there's a clear, palpable sense of collective belief in this team that could make a comeback like that and do it to get a win. And once they got to overtime, I mean, I know it was tied. Was there any doubt?
No. Team, the way they had the momentum, no question.
So Kenny Atkinson, Long Island native, of course, former Knicks assistant. Here's what he had to say, trying to make sense of what happened to his team after Game 1.
I thought they dominated us in the fourth quarter.
What do you think happened when you guys had the ball in the fourth?
When we had the ball, what are you saying, offensively? Yeah, if my only regret, and this, this can happen when you get a little fatigued. I think it just stopped moving. I mean, we were pinging the ball all over the place, great ball movement, and then it just got a little stagnant. And I told the guys, I said, we played great basketball the majority of the game. Just the ball stuck at the end there a little bit. Got to keep trusting pass. And then, but I'd also say we got a ton of great looks that didn't go in. So, we'll look at it. I think decisions got to be better, especially when we get fatigued. Sometimes we tend to want to, put our heads down too much. Just got to find the open guy.
Donovan turned something there? He seemed to be.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything. Nothing from the training camp. From the training staff. So, haven't heard anything.
Did you feel like he had the ball enough in that down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously tried to, attack their weaker defenders. Obviously, yeah, he had the ball. I thought he had the ball a ton.
Anything else went wrong? Mark? Kenny, obviously, Brunson got hot at the end.
Yeah.
When you look ahead towards game 2, do you look at matchup or coverage slips to try to slow him down?
I mean, we held him in check most of the game, right? It was basically fourth quarter. He got loose, and we definitely tried to mix up some stuff, throw some stuff at him. We'll have to keep looking at it. Hit a lot of his tough floaters and hit that tough contested three. I felt like they hit a lot of tough shots. I mean, the two Bridges threes, like, kind of what are you going to do?
Boy, how's Kenny Atkinson going to move forward after that? I mean, very complimentary of the team, but
You have
I don't know.
It's a seven-game series. He's going to watch that film and regret some of the decisions he made, no question. In the heat of the moment, when the momentum swings like that in a building like that, it's tough to make the right decisions, but there are some things he could have done. Listen, if James Harden is getting isolated and Jalen Brunson's starting to get hot, maybe he needs to not be on the floor, and you need to get Strus out there, who's a little bit better defender one-on-one against Jalen Brunson. But I just think the adjustment that Mike Brown made by putting Shamet in the lineup, opening up the floor for Brunson, I don't think there was a counter adjustment made by the Cavs in order to figure out how to do that. Now, going through the series, there will be, because they'll be able to adjust to it on film. But that was one of the reasons why the Knicks were able to pull off this comeback.
All right, guys, let's bring in Monica McNutt. She helped to call the game, as always, on the radio on ESPN New York. Monica, you have any voice left?
Listen, y'all.
I can't hear you. You got a voice left?
Listen, we had to get Tyler out of here quickly because he might have blown out his voice on the Landry Shamet call, which was epic. Listen, selfishly, let me just take y'all inside my mind. Through 3 quarters, I was like, oh, so glad I don't have to do television tomorrow because they are making me look like idiots. This rust is real. And then the fourth quarter happens, which to me, and Han, we talked about this a little bit pregame, it indicated that veteran poise, that accountability one to another. Because as much as we'll talk about Jalen Brunson's 15-point fourth quarter and the 11-point run all by himself, Karl-Anthony Towns had 7 rebounds in that fourth quarter, right? Shamet, Bridges, each hitting 2 big threes in that one. OG Anunoby showing up defensively. The defense that Bridges and Shamet brought in the fourth quarter. And just the sheer will, y'all. Like, to me, it was a distinct moment to be like, not again, considering what we had happen last year at this same point.
That's exactly where I was going, Monica. It's what I first thing I think of when I saw Mikal Bridges is I go, like, do you remember last year, game 1? Like, it's now you know the other side. You understand it. You got to run through the tape. You and I talked about this afternoon about how do the Knicks remember what happened in game 1. So that kind of came to your mind as well, didn't it? That all the Knicks had to do was stay in this thing. They had Christmas Day, remembering that. Cleveland blew that lead there. And, of course, the rest versus rust thing, the rust was shaking off. Yeah. And the lack of rest for Cleveland started to show late in that game, did it not?
That's it, right? We hear the nature of series. It's a long series. You got to get to 4 games. 7 games is a lot. But, guys, 4 quarters is a lot of basketball as well. And to your point, and Karl-Anthony Towns was just standing here, and I was messing with him because I'm like, bro, can you stop playing patty cake with Jared Allen, please? Anyway, but he said we was rusty. I said, I know. I'm watching. I can see y'all being rusty. But by the time they shook the rust off, because when you look at those 3-point numbers, they went 5 of 7 from 3 in the fourth quarter, and that's when it mattered the most. So by the time they shook off the rust, you're right, the fatigue started to show up. For a Cavs squad that I thought was exceptional, particularly in making the Knicks pay as they chose to double-team James Harden throughout the course of the night.
Well, and Monica, as you were in the building and as you were sensing this comeback start to happen, I just think about the Detroit-Cleveland series. And I think about watching them, and as the series went on, trying to figure out who should the Knicks play? Who would be a better matchup for this Knicks team? And as the series went on, it got more and more confusing, and you couldn't figure out who would be the best team for the Knicks to play. As we sit now, after Game 1, with home court advantage against the Cleveland Cavaliers, with this game at home, how much did home court matter? How much did the fans and the noise and the atmosphere matter in this game? Because it seemed like we're across the street and you could feel it. What was it like inside?
Novi, so I'm coming down the elevator from up our bird's eye view with some fans, and I'm just listening, right? They're like, you could feel it. Like, the stands were literally shaking. Like, they're talking to each other off the ledge about, we still have time. And like, you know, one of the phrases that I loved, and I'm just listening, it feels like we're a team of destiny. Like, those people are in this thing, y'all. Like, yes, the Knicks have an incredible celebrity role, and those are genuine fans, not just celebrities just trying to be seen. But as I go up to the rafters, all of these people in here, the city, genuine fans, I have not heard it as loud as we heard it during the course of the run. I can't wait for Tyler and I to edit our clip together because I'm sure you can hear the fans in it. That last 3-minute stretch of regulation, like, absolutely incredible. And I will add this to you guys. And I think a team that has more than one way to win is dangerous. But for all of the conversation about the new offense, and I take nothing away from the new offense, it was incredibly effective versus Atlanta and versus Philadelphia. I don't know about y'all, but that looked very much like the clutch player of the year decided that you were not going to take an L in this game, which is eerily similar to the offense of the past 2 seasons.
Alan made that exact point. Alan and Monica thinking the same thing. Monica, as always, great to have you with us, and we'll talk to you Thursday night for game number 2.
Sounds good, guys.
Both of us are definitely more shooters, not pass first guys, but I know you want to talk about some defense first.
Yes, the defense in the fourth quarter and overtime was elite by the Knicks. Look at the ball pressure here by Mikal Bridges. Just goes right by that screen. Look at the communication. The Knicks are all locked in the right spot. Now, freeze it here. Watch Jalen Brunson. He's the guy I really want you to keep an eye on. The way he absolutely fights tooth and nail with every action that he's involved in. Good fight by Shamek getting over this one. Watch Jalen in this health position. He's got a shooter. He can't leave him. Quick show. He knows, I better get back to Merrill because he's a great three-point shooter. Towns fights over. Look at Jalen here. Fighting to not let Merrill get open. That's really good team defense. Now you got the shot clock at 5. Now you got Bridges, one of the best one-on-one defenders in the league with his long arms, just pressures Harden. Harden has nowhere to go. 1 second on the shot clock. Great defense. Again, Jalen Brunson, hand up, and you get a 24-second violation. That is elite team defense. Everyone locked in. Everyone max effort. That's how the Knicks came back and won this game.
It is, and that was just a beautiful piece of it. The defense was one side of it. And obviously it was the late game adjustments and getting the right matchups. And so you look at some of these possessions late in the game, there were certain matchups that you could tell Jalen Brunson, Coach Brown wanted to see freeze it right there. There's a guy right here named James Harden who they're trying to feature. They're trying to go at. Watch OG Anunoby right here as he sets this screen and he gets away and creates space. Look at the action. This is the matchup that you know Jalen Brunson, the clutch player of the year, the guy that has to have the ball in his hands, wants. OG does a great job of spacing, pulling Dean Wade out, and you just see right here.
Floor is wide open.
All the space in the world. And this is the guy, when you give him space and a matchup that he likes, this is what's going to happen. He goes to work, he gets in his bag, he gets his feet set. We've seen this time and time again. There's no one better in the league at scoring, not only in ISO situations, but late in games when it matters. He's shown it time and time again. And obviously, the last 7 minutes of this game, our guy Alan Hahn shared with me just a moment ago, 7 minutes left in this game, a 0.1% win probability. Let me just tell you right now, I hate to break news if you didn't see the game. That 0.1 came true. This New York Knicks, they found a way to get the win. It's pretty remarkable stuff. And Bill, back to you.
All right, Mike Brown, of course, former coach of the Cavs, 2 different stints as a head coach of the Cavs. His post-game comments presented by Chase.
I got to give my group credit. They've been resilient all year, and I don't know if I've seen that in a playoff game. I don't know if I've been a part of it. Maybe I have. But to be down 18, 19, 20, whatever we were down, and to find a way to come back and win. I mean, I take my hat off to my group. You know, Cleveland, they were shooting the ball well. They were turning us over. They were getting the ball in the pocket and taking advantage of us. And we just found a way. We found a group of 5 guys that went out there, ended up getting stops, and, you know, scoring the basketball. Landry Shamet was great. Landry Shamet was great on both ends of the floor. He came up big. You know, you're not going to stop a guy like Donovan Mitchell. You just got to make him work, and Landry tried like heck to make him work. He was fantastic. He was the difference in the ball game tonight on both ends of the floor. Mikal was great too. Mikal was great on both ends of the floor. Cat finally got going. He had a double-double, which was huge. We needed every rebound that he came up with. And then OG. OG gave us a lot of versatility defensively and allowed us to do different things on that end of the floor. And as a team, you know, you combine the fourth quarter and overtime, and they score a total of 21 points. That's phenomenal, especially against that team. You know, our guys were really active defensively. We were 5 for 5 when it came to 50-50 balls. It was just a great defensive performance in the last quarter and overtime. So great win by our guys, and obviously we don't get it done if Jalen Brunson doesn't play like one of the MVP guys in the league. He was phenomenal. He did what he was supposed to do tonight, and it definitely helped us get the win.
Coach, in the fourth quarter there, you got a lot of Brunson on Harden.
Yeah.
I mean, was that just something you guys were looking for, and is that kind of an advantageous matchup for you that really helped you guys down the stretch?
Yeah, you know, it's sometimes you got to do what the game dictates, and they were trying to do the same thing with Jalen, and so we said, okay, you know, we feel like we can play that game. We try not to play that game much, but we feel like we have a guy that we can play that game with, and Jalen. And so, you know, just like we have to try to figure out different ways to guard Harden and Mitchell, they got to figure out different ways to guard Jalen. But there's no secret we were attacking Harden.
Mike, what was your thought process 9 minutes to go when you went with Landry? Like, what did you see at that point that let you know that's where I have to go?
You know, we talked about it throughout the course of the game. We talked about it this morning as a staff too. It's, you know, we feel like we can get some spray threes, and Landry's been shooting the ball really well for us. And, you know, you have Landry out there, you have OG out there, you have Mikal out there, and you have Cat or Mitch and Jalen, and they have to guard traditional. If they want to put a big on Landry, great, put a big on Landry. If you want to put a big on OG, great, put a big on OG. But then when you close out, you're going to have to take away the three and the drive. So we just felt defensively, Landry's a big guard. He's physical, moves his feet great, and he can defend without foul. And so to play him, knowing that, you know, they're going to pack the paint when Jalen comes and the spray is going to be there, that's what we decided to do.
Mike, besides the shot making, Jalen, it looked like there was one huddle where he looked like he was kind of animatedly going at everybody. Just kind of, were you seeing something in the huddle from him, captain-wise?
No, he's you know, he's a leader. He's our guy, and he felt we need to play faster. He felt we needed to be better defensively. There were a couple of things that he felt, and he made sure that we knew, and our guys responded to him.
Mike, you mentioned a little bit Landry opening up the offense and them having a big. The other side of that was them having Jared Allen on Josh and Lane's kind of clogging up in those moments. What do you feel like in those moments when Josh is on the court and they're guarding him with Allen that you guys can do to open up more space when they have that matchup?
We got to keep moving him around. If Josh is open and his feet are set, he's got to let it fly. You know, he's made shots. We feel like he'll make shots, and if he doesn't want to shoot it, he can get to his midi, or he can go DHO with somebody, a quick DHO with somebody. So, you know, Josh, we faced this coverage all year, and we played well throughout the course of the year, and we faced it in Atlanta. So we just, we started the game off 2 for 19 from the three-point line, and it wasn't just Josh. We had some pretty good looks from the right people, and if those go in, the mojo's a little bit different. And they didn't, and Cleveland was able to get back into it. And so, we just the game's about adjustments. We made an adjustment down the stretch, and we were fortunate to be able to come back and get the win.
Mike, you've talked about this team's resilience.
Look at the teammates' reaction there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That was amazing. Watching that in real time, watching tonight in real time. Wow.
Let's not forget the Knicks were 2-0 against those guys.
2-1.
Won the cup.
2-1.
2-1. One was the cup, and the one lost. Remember, they were up by double digits.
Went nuts.
New Year's Eve, and then Champagny went crazy from 3. Wembanyama got hurt in that game, left the game, so the Knicks had a chance to actually go 3-0 against them. It's certainly something to keep an eye on. But man, you better get that guy Wembanyama while you can. I don't think he's going to lose a lot in his career.
NBA playoffs are fun. Oof.
We're sitting here talking about if you're the Cavaliers and you're up 22 with 7:50 to go, and you got it. I mean, what is it? Whatever the percentage was to win, and now you lose, and now you got to come back after the fatigue of coming into this series and having that happen. I don't.
Guys, how much do you see? 40 minutes for Mobley, 42 for Harden, 40 for Mitchell. They had one day off after Game 7 where they all didn't have to play 40 minutes.
They've had 2 Game 7s now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So rest versus rust. The rust shook off. Did the rest factor kick in late in this game?
Definitely. You saw it. You saw there were no legs under them. Their shots, they got some good looks. They missed them in different ways that they normally do. And then when that crowd starts, then your body just drops. Your energy just drains. You're like looking around like this is an avalanche that I have no answer and no response to. And that's how the Knicks were able to come back, pull off this win.
Yeah, and I think there's no question that when you have 9 days off and the other team is in a tough 7-game series, you are at an advantage. There's no doubt for the series. But I think there's this caveat but maybe not in Game 1 because of the rust. And that's exactly what we saw in this game is that, yes, even if the Knicks would have lost this game, I think we would have said, look, and now they've got the rust off. Now we're going to see because we've watched how good they've been.
We were watching and we're saying, well, maybe this will be enough to get them going forward in the series, even if they don't win.
Right. Cleveland's going to think they deserve Game 2, though. They're going to come out playing like, hey, we deserve a split in this first couple games because they gave away Game 1.
And Kenny is going to be telling them, hey, look, we've had to go 7 games the last 2 series and we found a way. And so, look, we're down 1. Guess what? We win 7-game series. That's got to be what Kenny Atkinson is going to be telling this group. But those are big minutes, and this is a long series again, and it's the 3rd one, not the 2nd for them. So this is a different series.
Yeah, to me, if you're Cleveland, you were that close to getting a win, right? And the fact that you didn't get it, that still has got to weigh on your mind now that should have been one we had in our pocket.
Biggest playoff.
And you could tell from the first period on defensively, he was making moves, taking the ball to the basket, getting to the hoop. How you doing back there, boys?
Well, we have another bartender.
Twins.
We've added Steve Novak with the height.
I don't get to see.
I'm like this here. Back from the corner 3 presented by Michelob Ultra Superior Light Beer. Are you good at mixing drinks?
Yes, actually, I'm very good at it.
We got all of this here.
Well, you don't have to mix these.
We have the tallest analyst crew in the history of studio programs.
Steve Valiquette.
6'10", 6'7",
6'6",
5.
Yeah. Something
7.5.
One of these things is not like the other.
We'll give you 7.
How about Bridges?
But Bridges, guys, also, the threes are great. But that steal he had late, he had a big steal.
Oh, the Max Strus one?
Yes.
Strus didn't know what was going on.
Like Alvarado just ran up behind him. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, so his impact late in the game, big.
It was big. And I just think his ability, not every game, but is always there. It's such a constant to know if Jalen's going or not, if Cat is going or not. And when you have a guy like Bridges who can knock down shots, who can get easy buckets, who can answer when there's the best defender on Jalen, there's another big defender on Cat. When they've mixed up the defenses, I feel like McKellar's that guy who's a little bit more unpredictable. They lose track of him sometimes, and he makes you pay. And that is what makes you win in the playoffs. Guys have to step up. They've got to be able to answer the bell when the defense is being played on the Stars and things are being taken away. Well, there's a lot of guys on this team, including Bridges, who can fill it up and score it, and he did 18 tonight.
Since game 4 against Atlanta, well, he's been a different player.
He has. And it says a lot about a guy who, no matter whether things are going well for you personally, well for the team, not going well for the team, not going well for you personally, you stay even-keeled, you stay steady. And this is a guy that he doesn't let anything affect his focus on what he needs to do to win games and make plays and help this team win a championship. And we've seen it when he's been here against Boston, when they pulled off those 2 heroic comebacks. He was the guy that had the belief that they could do it. And you could see it again tonight. He believed. He did everything to help his team make the plays, make the shots, make the defensive plays. But this is a guy that you want in your locker room when you want to win a championship. He did it in college, and he's been to an NBA Finals, and he wants a ring on his finger along with all the Knicks.
Let it be said, he's in the circle of trust now and forever.
Yeah.
Enough, right?
Yes.
Enough. He's in the circle of trust because when it's winning time, he always seems to be the guy that makes the winning plays.
And let's not underestimate the contribution from Landry Shamet.
Yeah.
Game and post-game shows for you for the rest of the series. Game 2 Thursday. Series goes to Cleveland for Saturday, and Memorial Day. All game times are 8, so we're on each night with our pregame shows at 7 o'clock. Here's Landry Shamet, the post-game locker room.
What was it like to be a part of that comeback victory?
A lot of fun, man. MSG comebacks are fun, and especially in the playoffs. You know, I'm just really proud of our group because, you know, that's quite the deficit in the fourth, and you know, we found a way to just chip away and compete and not look at the deficit and just one possession at a time, and we, you know, came out with the win.
Andrew, what did you do? You personally against Mitchell, he really, the first 3 quarters, had it going, and then when you got in there, it seemed like you really slowed him down.
You know, just I think one of the luxuries of our team is we got a lot of really good on-ball, primary, off-the-ball defenders, team defenders, and that's a luxury that you can. You know, I didn't really play the first 3 quarters, and you know, you throw fresh legs at somebody who's got it going. Like I think that's just try to come in and compete, be physical, take advantage of the fact that I hadn't played, and use my energy that I had. And that's really it. Just try to compete, communicate, make it hard on him because he's a hell of a player, and obviously we expect him to come out and be aggressive, have a good game against us. So got to give him his credit. He did his thing and really hurt us throughout the game. So we're gonna have to make adjustments, but I think we were just connected and played hard and were physical.
What are you thinking when that three-pointer is rattling around the rim for what seemed like eternity?
Just always just stay down. That's what I say, stay down. And it stayed down. So, yeah, got one to go.
15-104. What things have we not talked about that you would like to bring up?
Karl Anthony Towns. Monica mentioned it, but it deserves a little more, right? He did not have a great game. He was a guy that had to work off the rust. His rebounding late in this game, critical. Big rebounds that he had. The shot wasn't there. He had some early assists, but he got to 13 rebounds with 7 of them in the fourth quarter and overtime, guys.
Well, and I think he's also been, there's been a lot of talk about him not having enough tenacity, him not going after buckets at times. But what we've seen is him play his best basketball by having the mindset of a facilitator. I think we've seen a big shift where all of a sudden the ball's been put in his hands, and over the last couple series, having that ball in one hand, the facilitation that he's made for this team has been huge. And so I think he's embraced that role, and it's been very good for this team so far.
The comeback was Jalen Brunson saying,
it was
it's on me.
Enough of this.
Right?
Yeah. At the end of NBA games, ISO is what wins. That's kind of the offense you have to run. Karl Anthony Towns has a tough matchup against Allen, and Mobley is a problem. And I think Anunoby being healthy at the end of the game, you could see it. His defense on Mobley, his rebounding at the 4 spot, that's going to be very important moving through this series. And I can't wait for game 2. I can't wait to see if the Knicks can get it right, play a higher level of basketball, take care of business, and defend home court again.
Yeah, just some of the fouls. He's got to stop.
Yes.
The fouls have got to stop.
So many things, I think, played a factor into it. We didn't close it out. We got to clean up on film and go from there. It's one loss. I don't know if y'all can y'all hear me. It's one loss. It's a bad loss, but all we can do is go back and watch the film and fix it.
How do you recover from this? You said
It's one game. We could have lost by 40. Still would have been 1-0. So just watch the film. We played, pretty solid for 3 quarters or so. We'll make adjustments and go from there.
Chris. Hey, Donovan. With Jalen Brunson in the fourth quarter in overtime, what do you feel like allowed him to get going?
It was a little comfortable. We could have done some things collectively, and we did, and that's on us. But ultimately, can do nothing about it now. We got to go out there and watch the film and fix it for game 2.
After everything that happened in the fourth quarter in those final 7 minutes or so, how difficult was it to collect yourselves again going into overtime?
No, not that difficult. And then we got some good looks and we missed. And they made some. They got bounces as well, but that can't happen. But it did. We can't let it. We play in 2 days. We can't sit here and let it kill our momentum, kill what we've been doing. It's not a good loss, but we got to go out there and respond for game 2.
You mentioned that can't happen. What is it?
Just we're up 22. As simple as that can't happen. But you watch the film, you get ready for game 2. So.
You didn't score in overtime. You didn't feel like you took a lot of shots down the stretch. What do you think you got kind of lost on offense? If you felt like in there, what do you think could have been different there?
I don't know. I mean, I'll watch the film and figure it out, and I don't think it's anything to overreact to. But, in those scenarios, got to feel it. And like I've always said, it's a feel thing. And go back and watch the film, and I have an answer for you tomorrow.
The message here seems to be a loss is a loss. But this type of loss is a little bit different than losing by 40.
Yeah.
Is it not?
It's a big-time difference. And I think you're obviously here, and I think Donovan Mitchell regurgitate, I imagine, what he's hearing in the locker room from his leader, from Kenny Atkinson. I think that should be the message. Because, look, he just had a 29-point game, went 12 for 23. He was the best player in Game 7 when they just beat Detroit. And so he does have to still have faith. He does have to still believe. They've won 2 series in 7 games. But he did score 0 points in overtime. And James Harden did take 7 field goals in overtime. And so obviously there's going to be a few things that need to be worked out. I think this one stings a little more than just a regular loss.
No question. Alan, we were just talking in the break. You reminded me. Last year, the Knicks blew the game against Indiana, and then they came back, and Indiana played really well and stole game 2. So what if the Knicks come back in game 2 and they actually play the way they're capable of playing and don't fall asleep for the first 3 quarters like the way they played today, and they were really rusty? So that's what the Cavaliers have to be ready for. What if that happens? Then they're down 2-0. Then they got their backs against the wall going back to Cleveland. So this is just a wild scenario. I'm very fascinated to see how this game 2 goes. But I think game 2 is going to settle in a little bit more the way we predicted and the analysts and the experts thought.
Yeah, because the Knicks are not going to go 4 for 23 from 3 after 3 quarters of play, right? 2 of 19 in the first half?
No, because a lot of those 2 of 19s were good looks.
Yeah.
And that normally, those were the shots. Remember, they were, were they 12 for 13 to start that game against the Sixers in game 4. They couldn't miss. Now all of a sudden they couldn't make a shot, all the same shots. And on Donovan Mitchell, in all those highlights, who you didn't see guarding him? Landry Shamet. You only saw him at the end of that, right?
Yeah.
So fourth quarter in overtime for Donovan Mitchell was 1 for 6. His one make was a 3. He was 1 for 3 from downtown. He had a turnover, so he only had 3 points. He couldn't generate all the offense he was generating for 3 quarters. Suddenly the water turned off, like you always like to say. What happened there? Was it a defensive move that the Knicks made, or was it Mitchell running out of gas?
The ball in Harden's hands. They let Harden close this game more so than I thought they allowed Donovan to be the guy.
Closer, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it was matchups, who they thought the advantage was, how the offense is running. They want to be deceptive.
He took 6 shots. Harden took 7 in the fourth quarter in overtime. Mitchell took 6. So that's a fair balance. Neither one of them could make a shot all of a sudden. And that's why I keep asking, was it the minutes? Did it catch up to them late in the game?
Coming up.
Got a question for each of you. Starting with Mikal, those 2 huge threes that you hit in crunch time. Just can you kind of walk us through how it felt watching those go through, and did it feel good when they left your hands? Did you know that they were going in?
Yeah, I think both of them did. Just trying to drive, make a play. I think they did a great job of denying out. And then teammates just, reminded me of the shot clock, so just try to make a play. And then the last one, just this man right here, just trusting me, that same side, corner 3, and just trying to be ready and just, try to make the shot.
Really just for all of you, I'll ask you first, Jalen, maybe just what kind of boost did Shamet give you guys tonight, not only with that shot, but defensively on Mitchell down the stretch?
Yeah, he played big time. That's just who he is. He's a true professional ever since he's walked into the league, and then I've got to see his work firsthand this past couple of years, and so he's up to any task that you put in front of him, and so he's been that player, and he's been that player for us, and we have the utmost faith in him.
I guess for any of you guys, it looked, when you're down 22 and before that, and there was one time it looked kind of animated in the huddle. Just kind of what are you guys saying to each other, to keep each other going when it's not going right?
Yeah, just keep fighting, keep chipping away. We're not going to get it back in one possession. Most importantly, sticking together. No matter how that game finished, habits translate, and so they get translate to the next game. So just finishing the game strong, regardless of whatever's going on, making sure we're having the right habits. So we'll be going to the next game. We're doing what we're doing. We're not just giving up. We don't want to give up ever. And so just having faith in each other.
Mikhail, a question for you. You got assistance now. Appreciate you. Was wondering just about your play against Atlanta and Philadelphia. It felt like the kind of the lock that you fit in was the defensive role. Like that was your big thing that you brought to the table against both of those teams, and that's just kind of synonymous with who you are and your reputation at this point. So I was wondering what it's like bringing that kind of level of intensity defensively against all sorts of different kinds of opponents, even despite whatever's happening in the scoring column. You have, it looks at least like you have such a pride in that end of the floor. I was wondering how you keep that level of motivation up.
Yeah, I think just how I've always been. Just trying to be a defender, make plays, and obviously as I got older, just kind of feed into that role when I got to college and the league as well. But yeah, just taking on that challenge. And definitely it was just one of my rules to play defense, to guard the best guys. And obviously it's never by myself. I got teammates behind me that's going to help me. But yeah, it's always dope to have the challenge of guarding different guys who are really skillful. From Nikhil, CJ to Maxey, PG, now to James and Donovan. So yeah, just something I've always been embracing and trying to keep getting better.